39 trillion, a number so massive that it could take over 1,000,000 years to earn, yet it's the reality of the world's most powerful economy. Welcome back to Step to Wealth. Today we're breaking down a financial system that looks stable on the surface but is quietly running into a dangerous trap. If you earned $1 every second non-stop, it would take over 31,000 years to reach just $1 trillion. To reach $39 trillion, it would take about 1.2 million years, which is far beyond human history itself. But the real problem isn't the total debt. It's the interest that keeps growing every single year. The US government pays around $1.8 trillion annually just in interest, without reducing the actual debt. That's nearly 40% of total tax revenue gone just to keep the system running. Meanwhile, the government earns about $4.7 trillion but spends around $6.5 trillion, creating a massive gap. This leads to a yearly deficit of nearly $2 trillion that has to be borrowed again. And every time more money is borrowed, the total debt and interest both increase. This is called a debt spiral, where borrowing leads to higher interest and higher interest forces even more borrowing. It's a cycle that keeps accelerating over time. At this point, paying back $39 trillion through normal methods becomes unrealistic. It's not about opinions, it's simple mathematics. The reality is simple. This debt cannot be repaid through normal methods no matter what policies are introduced. To pay it off, the government would need massive budget surpluses, but instead it is running a deficit of nearly $2 trillion every year. Closing that gap would require either extreme spending cuts or massive tax increases, both of which would damage the entire economy. If spending was cut at the scale required, major programs like Social Security and defense would be heavily reduced, creating instability across the country. On the other hand, if taxes were doubled, economic activity would slow down, businesses would struggle, and overall revenue would likely fall instead of rising. In both cases, the solution ends up making the problem even worse. This is why the system is trapped, because the debt keeps growing while the options to fix it become more limited. Even small increases in interest rates add hundreds of billions in extra costs every year. As a result, the debt spiral continues to accelerate, making traditional solutions impossible. History shows that when governments reach this point, they don't repay the debt normally. They choose alternative paths. These paths include default, inflation, financial repression, or restructuring the monetary system. And each option shifts wealth from one group to another, creating winners and losers. The real question is not whether the debt will be resolved, but how it will be resolved. Because one way or another, the system will adjust. And when it does, the impact will be felt across the entire global economy. At this stage, history gives only a few possible outcomes, and all of them have already happened in different countries before. Governments either allow inflation to quietly reduce the debt burden, restructure the system through financial controls, or in extreme cases go through partial default or monetary reset. The method may change, but the result is always the same. The value of money gets reshaped. And when that happens, the biggest impact is never random, it always follows a pattern. People holding cash and fixed income assets usually lose purchasing power over time, while those holding real assets like property, commodities, or gold tend to stay protected or even gain strength. The system doesn't collapse all at once, it slowly shifts who holds real value. So the real danger is not the debt itself, but ignoring how the system responds to it. Because when the adjustment finally comes, it won't ask for permission, and it won't wait for people to be ready. It simply reshapes the financial world, and those who understand it early are the ones who survive it strongest.